experience. Third match of the day coming up, Kolento taking on Thijs in this one. We saw Kolento face off against Hunter Ace earlier this week, where he protected his Highlander Hunter. Not the case here versus Thijs. You can see down below that Divine Shield around a class means it's been protected and ineligible to be banned. So for Kolento, he's protected his Priest and had his Druid banned away. On Thijs' side, protection of Druid. I've been seeing this creep up a little bit in America's play, where he is, in turn, had his Priest banned away. And I'm not sold on this iteration just yet, but I think it does have some merits to it. Where if you're firmly in my camp that against Holy Wrath Paladin, Druid is favored, it makes a lot of sense to have that deck across the other side of the board, but Kolento does not have a Warrior in the lineup. So it does give me a little bit more of a question mark when you go with this iteration.
Yeah, speaking of weird iterations, the last game that Kolento played, I believe he was on Protect His Hunter as well, so he's now moved back more to the conventional Priest. Does still have that Highlander Hunter in his lineup, and we just got word he is in fact starting with that deck as well. Not a common deck. I believe Gallon is playing it in Americas this week, but outside of those two, really not represented that well at all. But if you look at the statistics, it's actually one of the best performing decks in Hearthstone Grandmasters.
And I feel like that's because of players bringing it and wanting to use it at a particular time. So Gallon actually did not use the Hunter this week, but it did pull a ban in one of his series. So as you've said, when you bring a deck that people perhaps don't expect and it pulls a ban, that's a success.
Yep.
And I think everyone agrees who's playing at competitive levels. Like, it's a success to have. So for this series right here, where he's starting with Hunter, I feel like this is because of what Thijs has left. You know, Hunter is going to do okay versus Priest. It has a lot of game versus Druid, and it's got some snowball potential against Shaman, albeit I do think that the Shaman matchup is quite difficult. But that tells me that there's 2 of the 3 matchups across the board on Thijs' side that would be good for Kolento with Hunter in this spot, and so I think the time is nigh.
Yeah, I think it's in a good spot. I think it's been in a good spot for a number of weeks, just in terms of the decks that have ended up being brought, but perhaps not in a good spot based on what people were predicting to be brought to the table. And we're looking at Thijs' Holy Wrath Paladin right now, which really almost entirely standard list at this point. It's just kind of the debate about how many 2-ofs you play. Thijs is only playing the 1 True Silver champion, and he is also going Acolyte of Pain instead of that Soup Vendor was the card that just escaped from my brain temporarily.
We did see Eddie play a different version of Holy Wrath Paladin where he's got a ton of draws stacked in there, where I was really interested in, where he had Loot Hoarders and Solid's Pride.
Okay.
I was very interested in it because I think that that's a call for, like, if you expect your opponents to bring slower stuff, that you just turbo through the deck. Like, don't worry about fancy answers to things. Just get through the deck and deal them 50. I feel like that's really the only iteration left to explore with this deck, is how can it flex in a metagame where you can very well predict what your opponents will bring to the table. As it stands, I do feel like this is pretty close to the core list, where it's like one of the first things that we've gotten to where it's like there's not a lot of room to toy with. This is the list. It's very good. It does its thing. And it was early on in this expansion that happened too. And I honestly, aside from, you know, Priest being the monster that it is, it's pretty rare that you see something like that happen.
Yeah. It was one of the first things I called out when I think Solid's Pride was a set that we revealed those cards on broadcast last season, right? Their little Paladin package of the 1 health minions. And immediately I saw Solid's Pride and was like, wow, can this like be a new like Holy Wrath Paladin package just to draw additional cards? It turns out, from my experimentation, that it does, everything just gets in each other's way just a little bit too much, because when you have a bunch of your 1 attack minions and 1 health minions are 1/1s, then the Christology and the Selhet's Pride start to step on each other, and you need a whole bunch more 1 health and 1 attack minions to compensate for both of that, and then your whole deck just explodes because it's far too confused about what's going on.
It's where the Loot Hoarders come in.
It is, yes.
I like that choice a lot. Take a look at the standings and see how things are shaping up as well, as we are in splendid Sunday here with that 6th bonus match that we have in play. And you saw the loss from Psycho that has not been updated to reflect on the standings just yet. Yarla also picking up his 8th win in this series, as well as Pavel moving up to 6-4. So for this match, I do think Thijs needs a win in this spot. You know, Kolento was looking like he was going to break away with it and keep racing for number 1 with Hunter Ace. Then he lost the match to Hunter Ace, and that's a big separation from those two being the number 1 and 2 spots. And Thijs sitting at 4-5. he's in that spot that Boston was earlier, that seesaw spot where this win keeps you in that hunt very aggressively for a playoff spot.
Yeah, Hunter Ace almost all but locked in first place at this position, but Thijs definitely needs wins for playoff contention, which is probably something that we haven't talked about as much. Like, there isn't really a mid-table in terms of this like league format. You know, it's a phrase that we're at least used to hearing, at least in UK sports. Like, mid-table teams are teams that they're not going to push for the top honors. They're not going to get relegated. They're just solid mid-table teams. In this 8-man division, there's no real such thing as mid-table. If you're mid-table, you're fighting for a playoff spot. That's what that's about. So all those players who are sat around that kind of 4-5, 5-5 record at this point in proceedings, they're looking for playoff spots. There is still everything to play for almost every single player across every division across the whole of Grandmasters right now.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point to make. You know, that was going to be one of my stresses coming in the next 2 weeks, is that you were going to start seeing playoff stuff shape up. Yep. You know, if Hunter Ace picks up another win or two, he will be locked for playoffs at that point. As it stands right now, if he lost his next 4 matches, he'd be at 9-5. 9-5 is still good enough right now to be, you know, he's locked out of he cannot be relegated. Like, that much is absolutely known. But 1 or 2 more match wins, he's going to be locked for playoffs. And in his interviews, he's talked about that. He's taken it kind of one step at a time. Like, he'd love to be first. He'd love to find himself in the global finals. But goal number 1, be number 1. And so that means just look at the next 4 matches from there. He's not thinking about the playoffs and relegation at all.
Just beat the guy that's in front of you every week.
That's a good way to do it.
Wait for the next week and beat those guys as well.
Easier said when you're sitting at the 9-1 record.
Yeah.
When you're not sitting at the 9-1 record, it's definitely a little bit tougher. And, you know, I said that 6th bonus match, you can see what it's going to be down there with Casey versus Boar Control. We are awaiting Kolento versus Thijs right now. Apologize for the delay. Thank you for your patience on it. And our featured match with Fino and Bunny Hopper coming up. It's a tale of 2 stories where Bunny Hopper's chasing down that number 1 spot in the division. And for Fino, he is looking to finally get out of that spot that's in last place, burst forward into the world and say, I'm here!
Spread his wings like a phoenix from the flames. But yeah, he does.
Phenomenix.
No.
Well, Fino,
no,
come on,
no,
nothing?
Definitely not.
One of his friends said his play was phenomenicical.
All right, you recovered. I'm back on board. Fino does now have that opportunity, though. That loss for Psycho to Pavel in the match that we just watched is ever so crucial in case you are just joining us. That means that now Fino can pull himself off the bottom of the division for the first time this season after taking down the entire division and the playoffs in Season 1. Not a situation we expected to be talking about.
Yeah, we are waiting Thijs to get to the match. There is a time limit for this. We'll have the rules explained if and when that time arrives from there, but players are expected and held to a standard of showing up on time. So that's what we're waiting at the moment right now. As far as I can tell, Kolento has checked into the match, so that's what we're waiting for now. So I guess, you know, giving the picks and bans are in, and he's not here, you know, one of the things that I look at, again, is still just the deviation from it, where Thijs protecting his Druid. And they're starting now. Thijs has arrived, so we can jump into that game instead of talking about...
Drop that thought. It doesn't matter at all because the game is starting.
Woo! And that's exactly what I wanted to do. I summoned it. You're welcome. Willpower.
In 3, 2, 1. No.
You're not that good.
Okay.
No one's that good.
It was worth a try.
It was worth a try.
No one will remember that didn't work.
Well, unless we tweet it out.
Oh, come on. You got to do me like that.
Why do I have to? Or I guess, like, am I still going to? Like,
you could have made your whole point in this time. I don't know what's going on. Do you want to go back to your point and see if you can summon the game again?
Yeah!
Got him! Oh, unlucky.
What is it like to just be the inferior summoner?
Oh, it hurts. It hurts, Admirable.
Kolento on Hunter, taking on Thijs with Paladin. I will say my experience with Paladin on this is not so comfortable. I have been king crushed early a lot, and it hurts. And I'll tell you what, when they coined the Dino Tamer brand, you just go, come on, like, geez-a-loo.
I think it's also a match where potentially only having 1 True Silver does hurt you more than some other matches potentially, because True Silver Champion is just such a fantastic mid-game tool against Hunter. You know, you're looking at Animal Companions, Life Drinkers, 3-mana 2/4s coming down that just, you know, interact so well for you if their curve is just 4 health or less minion into 4 health or less minion on 3 and 4, which it often is, True Silver Champion can just take care of so much of that and buy you so much time.
Yeah, the one thing that doesn't really answer that well is, I think, exactly Hyena Alpha.
Yeah.
Something that's important to note with Kolento's list is that he has included Houndmaster, and we saw it demonstrated in his first series how important it was. And even in the interview, you know, his opponent in victory said, honestly, that Desert Spear Houndmaster combo was giving me a lot of trouble. I had to change the way that I was playing because of the fear of that extra damage connecting instead of simply being there. And so, you know, that's something for Thijs, I think, to really think about in the matchup is what does a beast in play mean for your life total the next turn?
Zephyrus interested in you backstabbing a 1/1?
Well, he just offers a possibility, right?
No, I know. I'm not in any way naysaying that should be a pick. It's just interesting to see it come up there. I just like, you know, whenever something like that happens, I just like filing it in my Zephyrus filing cabinet.
One day we'll have this card figured out.
Yep.
The year's 2032. Sottle has compiled 18 public reports on Zephyrus outcomes. Develops hypothesis.
It's just gone full beautiful mind. Like, you haven't seen me for years. I've just been locked in a room just scrawling board states all over the walls.
I'm kind of interested in the fact that Thijs traded off the Shimmerfly there instead of bumping the Zephyrus.
Coin Houndmaster?
Ah, I literally just talked
you
about it.
You were just talking about it.
It just changes the game.
It does,
It
yeah.
really does.
Houndmaster just hasn't been a card for so long. Like, it used to be the best deck in the game. You'd play a River Crocolisk, and not in the way casters say River Crocolisk.
The actual card.
A literal River Crocolisk, and then you would Coin Houndmaster it, and the game would end. Your opponent just couldn't win.
Unless they were playing that Hunter deck that had, like, you know, the Hunter's Mark with the 2-mana Starry Buzzard,
Buzzard
2-mana
Unleash,
yeah.
yeah.
Which that was the deck you were playing as well.
Correct.
I digress.
Yes.
If they weren't playing the same deck, they lost the game.
Yep.
It was so powerful. I remembered, like, dark bombing a River Crocolisk and feeling good about it.
Good old River Croc.
Baited Arrow.
Bloodfen Raptors just never really had his day, though.
Tell it, jockey. He loves Bloodfen Raptors. Yep. The Baited Arrow inclusion also in Kolento's deck. One of the, I think, main functions of this is specifically thinking of how Ziliax works on turn 5.
Yeah, this has just always made sense to me. I remember, you know, you've talked about it before, I think. We asked these questions of people at World Championships, and we don't want to be leading in our questions because we want unfiltered thoughts from the players. We don't want to influence them with what we're saying. But I was always thinking, like, why don't more people play Baited Arrow when Ziliax is a card? So then there were players at the World Championships who had Baited Arrow in their deck. I think Language Hacker and Bloody Face specifically were the players playing it. So we asked them, what's this Baited Arrow about? And just immediately they're like, well, Ziliax is a card. I'm like, yeah, see what that guy said.
Thijs favoring the card draw means he's under early pressure. And for Kolento, I do imagine that Rat Trap presents some pretty interesting problems for Thijs. Paladin's not really chaining together 3 cards too often, but turn 6 is definitely one of the turns that does it.
Yep.
Thinking 2-mana card, 2-mana card, 2-mana card.
Let me just check that maths real quick. Yep, checks out.
Misdirection offers perhaps more damage as a surprise in the face of like a true silver champion.
Pressure Plate can maybe sometimes disrupt some weird Pyromancer clear.
Life Drinker deals damage.
Subdue sets a minion's attack and health to 1.
It definitely felt like that's what we were talking about after I realized what I was talking about.
Okay.
Another lens.
Let me think.
That means subdue.
Makes sense to me. Other option would have been Kangol Flash of Light with the same thing, which would have been kind of interesting to me, I guess, but with double Flash of Light in hand. I'm wondering how interested Thijs is in getting greedy. Cheap spells held onto for Pyromancer as well can also end up being very important.
Well, this is a really critical turn for Kolento. How many times do you need to press the button to kill your opponent now?
I wonder.
Oh, we're here again, are we? I feel like this is very familiar to where we were in Kolento's last series where he played this matchup.
Yeah, I don't think you're quite at button pressing territory yet with Snip Snap.
I agree.
And with Desert Spear.
I very much agree.
I just, when are those turns? Like, you want them to be sooner rather than
see
later.
him out on the following turn, like coming down with Divine Shield and resisting Pyromancer clears.
So you stack the Snip Snaps to encourage an equality.
Or a Shrink Ray.
You've already seen Subdue. Yep. So that's not a worry. And then if you see one of those two options, the Siamat becomes free and clear.
The biggest boy.
And for Thijs, it's not the easiest clear in the world because he's staring down the 4 tokens that would generate off the Snip Snap.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the multi-pronged attack from Kolento. He says, deal with all of these different things. That's tough to do.
Looks like a heal for 16 turn to me.
Light bends to my will.
Yeah, that's a good turn. I mean, Thijs needed something exactly like that turn, I think, to stay in this game in a healthy way.
Yeah, he needed something else, right? Like a timeout wouldn't have felt good, a board clear wouldn't have felt good, a just draw cards turn wouldn't have felt good. So Thijs needed something outside the realms of usual, and Crystal Smith Kangol double Flash of Light definitely fulfills that criteria.
It's something I always think about when I'm playing the deck. Just never, ever accomplish pairing those two together.
Wait, you've never just like one Kangol, one Flash of Light, or you've never specifically done all three?
I just have tempo it out so much.
Okay. Yeah.
This is a matchup, I think, where every little edge that you could manage to snag is usually a risk worth taking.
Right. There's that Houndmaster.
Keep beating down the door.
Makes a 5/5 instead of a 3/3 here. Makes sense. More resistant to Spell Damage Consecration or Pyromancer Consecration, which are well within Thijs' range right now.
Blood Mage expended so far, so Wild Pyromancer. Also True Silver.
Yep.
Let me think.
Oh boy. How do you get out of this one?
I wonder.
There's just so many angles to check. You have to connect 5 damage to Kolento still. You have to not die. You have to get through the rest of your deck. You have to fight through a board that's secured by a death rattle. It's just a lot of stuff. Like I'm thinking a quality timeout here.
So I go back to your phrasing in the previous Holy Wrath matchup where you said worth taking 4 damage, or worth taking 7 damage as it was at the time. Is preserving this timeout not worth taking 4 damage here? I feel like this is fine.
I think it is. I'm trying to, in my head, visualize turns where you're accomplishing like everything at the same time.
Right.
And I think I'm just thinking too much about it. Like, I think I'm trying to do too much at one time.
I think Thijs has a number of turns to dig his way out of this. From his perspective, last turn, certainly. We can see that the Divine Shield, Wind Fury, Zephyrus, Siamat puts a huge clock on that Thijs didn't know that he was under up until this point. With only 7 cards left, still 2 timeouts live, Novice Engineer in hand to start cycling, and now a Zephyrus that will become active in the very near future, I believe.
Let me
Is he
think.
missing? He's got Baleful, he's got a Holy Wrath.
Wild Pyromancer.
Wild Pyromancer. And now he's just chilling. Back to 22.
He does still need to connect damage, though. Which right now, it's looking like he will connect damage.
Yep.
You know, this is something else I've experienced in the matchup, too, is like I end up spending a Holy Wrath or I spend the first Shivala, and then a Zul'jin hits, and I'm like, that 5 extra armor, and I just can't get through the damage.
Yep. He has already seen the Life Drinker, though.
Very important.
Healing options are very limited for Kolento. It's not like this is the Scale High Dire Frenzy deck.
Yeah, I mean, Thijs is, given the situation right now, Thijs is going to connect damage.
So a Deadly Shot get used as well. Like, how many removal options can he reasonably expect his opponent to have?
Kill Command.
Go on.
I wonder.
No,
Okay.
I won't.
Okay. No Mark Shot? No Mark Shot.
No Mark Shot.
And the Baited Arrow has been used as well.
I move quickly.
He only connects for 2, but honestly, that might be all he needs.
Oh, I can turn all my health into armor again?
All but one of it.
Sweet. Sounds perfect right now.
I hope you like my invention.
I think we also need to pay attention to the idea that, like, Thijs is just so secure right now. 22 health, 2 live timeouts still, 6 cards left in deck. That if he needs extra damage, he can just get it from Zephyrus this game. It seems unlikely that he's going to need to panic board clear with that card from the position he's got himself into.
I mean, that literally was the 2 damage that Kolento had to take in order to clear off a 2-2.
Yep.
You know, I feel like we stress how much Paladin needs chip damage in this matchup, that pointing out that that 2-2 effectively connected because of the weapon, that's a big enough talking point to me. That 2 damage is the difference between Kolento being at 31 and the difference in him being at 29.
29 is dead in 1 turn.
Yeah.
I think the further talking point being is, like, is Thijs far enough ahead that even if Kolento was at 31 or 32 or 33 or 34 or 30, whatever, that he can just play the extra turn for the Pyroblast out anyway because he's just kind of that far ahead in the situation? I think the Shivala turn just put him really, really far ahead in the game. No 5-5 for you, my friend. Oh, that went the right direction, though.
Oh, that was off the Shimmerfly. I was like, he doesn't have a secret
Secret
plan
plan.
in the deck.
So Thijs knows that this is freezing. It's the only secret that's been played, now replayed by Zul'jin.
Zephyrus active.
3 cards remaining, 2 live timeouts, 25 damage from Holy Wrath.
2-cost Holy Wrath also opens up bigger Zephyrus possibilities.
It does. You are not wrong. So you Shivala, you Banker, you Holy Wrath, you Zephyrus, and you have 4 remaining at that point.
Yep.
So you're up to Fireball. 31.
So I think what Thijs is thinking about is the pressure points of when the damage comes in. Like, I think one of the cards he's specifically thinking about is Dino Tamer Brand at this point.
Correct.
I wonder.
I think he's likely double-checking deck list to make sure that there's not some weird life gain he's missed. There is Ziliax, but...
Also asking, like, maybe just playing the 2-cost Holy Wrath right here is worth it because you can do that alongside a timeout, whereas you can't do it the other way around. Says he doesn't want a timeout this turn. Fair enough.
Yeah, I definitely don't want a timeout here.
Not
if
going to
I'm
die.
Thijs' spot. The card draw, I believe, has all been expended at this point. So, for Thijs, what that
Well,
means...
apart from 1 Holy Wrath, which is usable.
Yeah, I meant non-visible, I
Yes,
guess.
yeah,
I should have clarified that.
Sure.
Wild
What I
Pyromancer,
gonna
True
do
Silver
with
Champion,
you?
and a Baleful Banker are the 3 cards remaining in Thijs' deck.
Okay.
Unleash the Hound.
Just push the 2. Rush Man, use the Charge Man.
Kolento had a fantastic early game, but it did not produce a follow-up. And for Thijs here, I believe he is free to use a timeout. Holy Wrath timeout. Perhaps you don't put a minion in play as a nod to Ziliax.
I'm almost out of cards.
Nice meaty 4. You like to see that.
No minion, checkmate.
Could have been the Pyromancer. Yep, Kolento down on 24. No mech on board that he could have magnetized the Ziliax onto. Life Drinker played. Zorjin played. So unless some absolute random nonsense, which Highlander Hunter not really a deck that's full of random nonsense. This is a guaranteed 25 on the following turn. Adorable.
Stash that away.
Does the pressure plate rip even if you die?
I'm out of cards.
Hey, nice. You love to see it.
Revenge. Vengeance plate. You killed me, Shivala, but I also killed you.
But yeah, so I think big talking point turn there was just the Shivala turn from Thijs. The first Shivala turn where he just gave up, essentially gave up on his second Holy Wrath. He said, this is a 1 Holy Wrath game. I'm going to play Shivala now. I'm going to reshuffle it. We're going to start again. And the security that gave him, like you saw how comfortable he was there at the end. He could have even gone quicker than that, like I said, by using the 2-mana Holy Wrath on the previous turn to draw that extra card and using 1 timeout then and gone through his deck even quicker. But because he had that luxury, he chose to play around eventualities like the one of Ziliax that was the one remaining healing card left being played, and any random stuff that can come out. Like, I can't even really picture what it would be in that situation, because Zephyrus was played, the one Shimmerfly was played. Like, what other random generation is there in the deck, and what could it give you? Like, I think he was just so locked up in that game, the way that he played it out.
No, he was super locked. I mean, there was no more random generation on Kolento's side. You know, he's got a very lean list that's focused on aggression, and that's what he had on the open, but he missed in his mid-game. In his mid-game, you know, no Subject 9 to try to thin out the deck, no Unleash the Beast to try to add pressure, no Dino Tamer brand that was there. The Tiamat got checked very cleanly. Like, he had tools to do it. It just weren't the right tools in that spot because Thijs had answers to it. I think it's just a clean game on both sides, and Thijs walks away with a win.
Yeah, the Crystal Smith Kangol turn was actually super crucial as well, because not only did it heal for 16, which we were talking about, it like solved so many problems for Thijs, it also pulled that deadly shot out of Kolento's hand, because he didn't want to have to waste so much damage going into it, which then meant when the Shivala turn happened, that Kolento had to deal with it the hard way. He had to give up kill commands and other things to be able to fight down the board. He had to take 2 extra damage by smacking into a minion with his face. All of those things end up mattering when you're trying to race 25 damage with 1 Holy Wrath.
Indeed. Just tough game. You got. That's where we're at right now. Thijs, 1-0 lead over Kolento. Quick break. When we come back, it's game number 2 of this series where Thijs has a 1-0 lead right now. Kolento still hunting down for second spot in the division so far, though. Stay tuned.
Legends say powerful treasures are hidden everywhere here in Aldum.
If we hope to defeat Rafam, we'll need as many as we can get. He's already unleashed the ancient plague lords and countless monsters. Keep them distracted, Reno.
Not a problem. This plan is totally gonna work. Ain't that right, Finley?
Oh, yes! I have them right where I want them.
There is an artifact here. The name is...
The scales of justice. Oh, it must be really fancy.
only to be used in a time of great peril. Yes, I think this qualifies.
Hey, look, Finley! You've lured one of the Plague Lords!
Take this, fiend!
In the face! Yeah! Hey, guys! Get that treasure! We've got a Plague Lord to destroy!
Yes, please, hurry!
Not to worry, Finley! We'll just push this thing right here.
No, that's a trap! Watch out!
It's all good. I am phonally timed.
Gracious me!
What we actually need to do is press this. And there.
A fish. No, it's the scales of justice. Oh.
Ah, who wants to use it first?
Oh, I do! Me! On second thought, maybe give it to Finley?
All you had to do was hold a rope.
Here we go, blaming the tall, ruggedly handsome guy again.
My name is Alexander Malsh. You might know me as Kolento. My username Kolento is kind of random. I just took it from the MMORPG I was playing. It was the name of one of my characters. My favorite moment in Hearthstone is probably when I won the Game House Cup. It was one of my first tournaments I won, and it probably was the first LAN I won, so it felt very special. So as for Grandmasters in general, I really like to play against people I know personally and I met before. I have respect for them. I think competing will be fun. Being in Grandmasters is a big honor. It's just a proof that I'm a part of best players in Hearthstone. It's not like I need it so much, I just know it myself, but it still feels kind of nice. I'll just perform well at Grandmaster League. I'll try to keep streaming, and I just want to spend the rest of my time having as much fun as I'm having doing my hobby.
Welcome back to Splendid Sunday here for the European Grandmasters. I'm Nathan, that's Admiral Zamora. I'm joined by Simon Sottle-Welch. And the reason it's splendid is because we have a 6th bonus match that's in play today. Right now, we're amidst Kolento taking on Thijs, where Thijs has a 1-0 lead after getting a win with his Holy Wrath Paladin. And now, Kolento's going to be running back the Hunter, trying to get a win with it, and Thijs is moving over to that Protected Druid.
Much better, by the way. You're making me happy now. I'm liking it. All these little bonus drops.
That's exactly what I'm here for, only to make you happy.
Isn't that why the entire universe exists?
Sure.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
But you know what else makes me happy? High-level games of Hearthstone, and that's what we generally have when Kolento and Thijs play each other. It's been a storied rivalry, let's say. Even in Grandmasters, they are very, very evenly matched, as you would expect from the Kolento twins. Kolento currently has a 2-1 lead overall. He went 2-1 in Season 1, picking up the double, and Thijs has hit back by winning the first Kolento Derby of Season 2.
What's the word you said?
Derby?
Yeah, what is that?
It's like I guess it's a UK sports term for when two local teams play each other.
Oh.
So like the North London Derby is Arsenal versus Tottenham, the Manchester Derby, Man City versus Man United, etc.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like new words.
I know what you
I was about to say I was going to like this hand from Kolento, but then he didn't draw a secret. I was like, dang it. Glad I waited, though. But there's still one more turn. I almost like this hand. I will say that the Spring Paw is putting in some absolute work here, though. The fact that it pressures Thijs to have to answer 2 1-1s,
yes,
and that he's not going to be able to do that means Houndmaster's going to connect.
So, did we ever think about playing a 1-4 on turn 2?
I was going to talk about it, but he passed so quickly.
He did go through it really, really quickly, and that's almost why I do want to talk about it, because it didn't even necessarily seem like Thijs thought about it. Because you're then set up, if the secret is whiffed, which happens sometimes, that you can 1-4 plus hero power to kill a secret keeper before it starts snowballing later on.
So the question mark is just going to be which is more important, preventing a Houndmaster, which is a 1-of in a Highlander deck, or completing your quest. I think I would have tended to complete my quest.
wonder if that's influenced by not currently having the big power spike play to make on turn 5, turn 6 either.
I mean, you really need card draw.
Yes.
So where the Expedition, take a peek. That's a good one.
All right. Found ourselves our power spike.
And use these Crystal Merchants as bootleg shield blocks.
What about Poison Man Innovate? Does that give you swipe lines next turn?
Behold, jewels of the sun. Ooh.
I want my card.
All right, duly noted.
I feel like you have a lot of good draws off the card.
Yeah.
One of the ones I'm specifically looking at is Starfall. Oh, you do need to find hidden oases in this matchup too, I think.
Yes. Almost for sure. That one card kind of single-handedly neutralizes Dino Tamer Bran on the other side. Like, if the Dino Tamer Bran has come down, it recovers the damage. If the Dino Tamer Bran hasn't come down, it puts a big wall in the way that you can't get smacked in the face with an 8/8 dinosaur.
You also just get kind of beat up and you need extra health.
Yes.
Yeah. It's... I'll be honest, if Thijs manages to beat this matchup twice with Paladin and Druid, that has been a rarity in my experience. I have been... Those are two of my most played decks in this expansion, and I am just getting walloped by Hunter.
So I don't have a big sample size against Hunter. I only seem to queue into them when I play Priest, which I'm not complaining about, by the way, because as much as they think they're favored, they're not, so I don't care. But I haven't played the matchup from the Paladin side a lot, but in my small sample size, I have been favored as Paladin, and it's felt fine. I do run double True Silver, though, when I play, which I was talking about before is a big deal.
I do want to talk about the Innervate Surger, though. That leaves you with Lodi, Ferocious Howl in the next turn, obviously in the opposite order.
I want to talk more about Poison Man Innovate last turn.
Well, it's too late.
It is. You're right.
So, okay.
But I just want that play on the
All right. I like this.
Yeah, I do agree. With the spot that we're in now, I do also like this. Max damage off board, or are we value bumping?
Oh, max damage off.
Okay.
Hunter value is so slim that you don't need to pick up value trades, in my opinion. You need to kill their max damage because that is what their soul deck is basically dedicated to. They run a lot of, you know, kind of busted, beat-up looking minions like Subject 9. It's a very strong value card, but it's a 5-mana 4/4.
Scuffed minions like Subject 9.
I mean, it's just... I'm not threatened by it at all.
Ooh, Forbiddenous Flute, where were you?
Well, it was card 20.
Ah.
10? I was counting from the bottom up?
Counting from the bottom, now you're here.
I guess that's like the order you would stack your deck in.
Well, this Secret Keeper suddenly got a lot more scary than it has been the last few turns.
Yeah, I'm thinking Lodi is probably unstealthed.
Yeah. Certainly don't want to take 8 next turn.
What to do?
There's not really a ton that cleanly answers it. If you unstealth it, it's like kill command plus a 3-drop would be that's like a nightmare.
The Deadly Shot being gone.
Yeah, but like Unleash the Beast, for instance, yeah, you're not too worried about that.
Yeah, sure. Take it. Kolento's in business.
Just a 7-mana King Crush. Siamat on the far left.
I wonder.
For Kolento. Oh, the difference 1 mana makes.
Kolento just has all the big boys in hand right now. I think potentially these secrets are just surplus to requirements right now.
They do feel stuck to me. Like, I am not interested in leaving a War Druid Lodi in play.
Nope.
Do you have a strong enough secret set up against it that you can justify it, though? Because if you think about it, you know, one of Thijs' biggest turns he can have now is going to be with the Nubisath Defender. So how much of an impact does Rat Trap, Freezing Trap, Pressure Plate have?
All right. Rat Trap is very relevant against a Nubisath Defender. I will give you that. I'm just looking at this turn like, I have huge minions in my hand.
You have 10 cards in hand,
I
too.
want to kill this thing. I want to push 4 damage. I want to play a huge thing next turn. I want to play a huge thing the turn after that. And if I have to have another turn after that, I'll be upset because it means the druid hasn't died.
Excellent point. Kolento, I think, opting for the burn here as well is just, like, the hand is good enough to get the job done. I think the resources need to be more on Thijs' side than on Kolento's right now.
Agreed.
I was going to say this is the easiest down tamer brand of my life, but honestly, the Wind Fury Divine Shield looks so good. But it's a strong offensive tool as well. You know, let's say you do face down 2 Anubis defenders. Siamat's a way to clear that.
What if Hidden Oasis is the response to this? Siamat has a way to clear that. $15 cards remaining. Oh, the pains of Druid when they don't draw Nourish.
Is he had time to Nourish? I guess this turn would have been the time to Nourish. Ah, yes, the pains of Druid when they just have to floop out the Oasis Surger.
Look, I've made my stance on Oasis Surger floop very clear, okay? This is not okay.
Yeah, well, you're an idiot.
Wow!
This is my favorite thing to do! Don't take that away from me.
Just literally no other deck in the game gets to have a mid-game because this exists.
That's not true.
Okay, no, Priest still gets to have a mid-game.
Yeah, their mid-game's like turn 3.
Yeah. Suddenly now, with that huge clapback from Thijs shutting down most of Kolento's pressure, now this is just kind of an ugly-looking hand, to be honest. Like, the good resources in his hand deal with the Oasis Surges and bring him back to parity.
Yeah.
But then he just doesn't have the cards to pull ahead beyond that.
At almost every step of the way of Kolento, I'm seeing if he had diverted to Secrets, I think he would have had like a stronger immediate turn, but he'd be looking at a similar situation. It's like, it's just not going to get done. Like, Freezing Trap would have gotten popped by the Lodian play, the Rat Trap in play. Like, it would have had some impact maybe on this turn.
Yeah.
Like, Pressure Plate's like, it's kind of doing something. Like, you get some stuff out of your hand, but like, you don't really do anything, if that makes sense.
Which one did he play? The Pressure Plate? Okay.
Yeah, so that's easily the best one to play in this scenario, given that Nourish is the strongest draw from Thijs. I guess Cenarius has an argument for that.
Sure. Thijs doing the responsible thing, cracking face, just hoping that for some reason with every secret in his deck available, Kolento went, Explosive Trap, that's the one.
Yeah, I think Thijs was considering foregoing this Anubis Defender, and to me, one of the main considerations is pretty much exactly Siamat. Like, I think Thijs is fearing a big Zul'jin play here.
Sure.
And so that Zul'jin play requires some setup, but part of the catalyst to that is you just losing all your tools in the meantime. Right. Like, the Surger enough is, like, can threaten, but if you don't threaten the Siamat, then he just gets to reign supreme on the board. How low on cards do you have to be before Zephrys offers you Arcane Intellect? Like, does your hand need to be empty?
No. No, there's about, I think, less than 5 it will certainly start to consider card draw, but I don't yet know the specifics of like which card draw it needs what weighting on.
So like, if the board is like empty when you play Zephrys and your hand is low, he's thinking like lay on hands.
It will give you lay on, like, it seems to like sprint and lay on hands, depending on whether you're low on health or not. It's hard to get cheap card draw because, again, you have to influence it to do so. If you can do the kind of thing where like you spend 2 cards from your hand and that leaves you with 1 or 2 cards in hand, then you have 3 left, like, yeah, you'll get an Arcane Intellect. It'll happen.
Yeah, Thijs he's so far off the Zephrys being active. And again, with no Nourish, it's, yeah, I mean, it's starting to set in. This is becoming difficult.
This is now the Rat Trap that has joined the Pressure Plate. Which means Thijs actually just is kind of okay doing what he wants to do this turn, which is killing this Seermat and drawing a card off his wrap. None of those secrets disrupt what he's doing.
I can promise you after that draw, Thijs is officially terrified. He is thinking to himself, oh, I hope that Kolento does not have Zul'jin, because otherwise I pretty much die.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That is not a good looking hand.
From Thijs' perspective, he's still looking at explosive, pressure plate, rat trap, or snipe in this situation as the second secret that's been in play. Kolento continues, it's not snipe.
Oh! So now there's two kickers in play here. Number one is that one of the most successful ways that I've been defeated by hunters in this matchup is when they're in positions like this. The reason why is because they are free to defend the board with just their tools. When I explode onto the board, they Zephyrus and they Twisting Nether.
Yep.
Once that's happened, they play Zul'jin and it replays Twisting Nether, and I lose. I have never defeated it. I have never seen anyone defeat it. And if Kolento, I think, goes anywhere near that line, it's going to be really tough for Thijs to win. He's already getting pressured. Like, I'm usually in the winning position when I get to this point where it's offered on the hunter side. And I lose those games. When you're in a losing position and it happens, that's bad. I don't think Thijs could have avoided this, though. He needed to draw Nourish. And without it, you kind of flounder around the rest of the game.
Yeah, he just had no gas whatsoever. He had one turn where he did the good thing that his deck does. But without the support behind that, it just wasn't enough.
It's kind of starting to remind me of, like, old Miracle Rogue decks where, like, without Auctioneer, you just die.
50. Okay. Thijs gets the better outcome. Yeah, I guess the difference there is that old Miracle Rogue didn't have to keep a quest in their hand. It's just one extra card slot. It's not a Nourish.
That's it.
What's it?
I'm trying to think of just more ways to draw Nourish, and
more
I don't know why I said that's
Nourish.
it, because I went through all the cards in my head and I couldn't find one, and so I said that's it. Like I had confirmed that I was done with the list in my head.
I just love the phrase, I'm looking for more ways to draw Nourish. I'm trying
It's so
really hard.
important.
Trying really hard to draw this Nourish, okay?
Just like cycle stuff.
Yeah.
I'm putting in novices.
Yeah.
What's the best 5-cost card? Earth Elemental. There we go.
Yeah. Ziliax runs into a freezing trap here, even if you got the Ziliax. Guess then you have the Ziliax in your hand.
I wouldn't attack with the Ziliax.
No. How much does Arena Treasure Chest cost? 4?
Yeah.
Unlucky.
Oh, that's unlucky. God darn it! I couldn't get Arena Treasure Chest.
Dude, you had a swipe in your hand here. You King Ferris, you get your Arena Treasure Chest. You starfall your own Arena Treasure Chest the next turn. Draw that Nourish. Maybe you got a stew going.
I just don't have the IQ to understand that. Notice I didn't specify which direction. No.
PC-130 mental dislocator.
Here comes the big axe.
Zul'jin comes down.
Kolento just smells blood at this point.
No Zephyrus card going in that pool. He's not interested in his Zul'jin casting Twisting Nether. He's saying, I'm just going to be ahead when that happens.
I mean, there's a certain point where you're going to be like, okay, look, you're just not doing anything.
Yep. Oh, let me just baited arrow myself in the face real quick. How do you feel about that?
I feel like you got a coin for the Shimmer Flame.
Nice.
Nourish. Active Zephyrus.
Thijs gives the nod.
Oh my.
Wait, can Thijs just fatigue Kolento now?
Well, I don't know, but I've told you, like, if they just don't do anything, I just lose. And now I'm wondering. Oh boy.
Oh, Dire Frenzy off the Shimmer Fly. What on earth? Right as I asked the question.
How does he do it, man? Like, just every time he's presented with something trouble, it's like, what about this card? It's like, that'll do. I still think Kolento's favored from this spot. Like, Thijs is just massively behind.
Yes.
This gonna hurt.
But that can change. There's still a hidden Oasis.
Yep.
Still an Elise the Enlightened. This hand next turn for Thijs could just become full.
Put your faith in the light.
So for Kolento, he's got to pressure him out. I'm curious about the king.
Is it time for some safeguards and Sunwalkers and damaged Stegatrons? Do you just have to high roll something huge here?
Some rotten apple boughs.
Yeah.
Just extend the game. My question really is how important is at least the Enlightening hit into King Ferris? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You have Oasis Surger left in your deck?
Scenarios. Right?
Yep. But how fast do you need to draw to that point as well? I mean, you're facing down 11 minimum next turn.
Our power is in our...
This makes sense to me.
Interesting.
Okay. Who got the good outcome there?
Well, let's find out.
Interesting.
Does allow the Tyrion to crack through the 4/7.
4/7, yeah, that's the bit that upsets me from Thijs' perspective. The part that excites me is not taking 11 this turn, though.
Yeah, getting 2 taunts here is, I think...
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I'm going to ignore the effects and say 2 taunts, advantage Thijs from that King Ferris.
Okay. Not going to argue.
Good, because I wasn't prepared to make my case.
Damn it.
This gonna hurt. Hurry!
I'm looking at Unleash the Beast Dire Frenzy. I'm looking at just cracking through with normal damage. I think the normal damage makes more sense. The main reason being for me is that it keeps the Unleash and Dire Frenzy in hand, and you get to actually use Eagle Horn Bow on this turn instead. So expend your life, kill off this King Ferris, protect your Tyrion in the meantime, and keep it smashing for 6. I think it smashing for 6 is one of your ways to deliver the damage necessary.
Hopefully, Kolento has read the deck list this week and is aware that his opponent is not running Mali Druid, so he's safe to take this damage.
Thijs got a lot of thinking to do, staring at a full Christmas tree of secrets.
Yeah, well, spoilers, it's all of them.
What to do?
Makes your Oasis Surger pretty miserable. It makes Nourish less appealing. Do you ever draw enough cards, cheap cards with Nourish, for it to even think about activating Rat Trap? You have so much expensive stuff left in your deck, right? I do think that Thijs is potentially just looking at playing out his deck naturally here and just trying to kill everything that Kolento can present.
Time waits for no one.
He's going to get some bad news when that Dire Frenzy comes into play.
Yeah. I think this turn he was just potentially facing a bit too much, giving up the Eaglehorn bow charges plus giving up the Ashbringer.
Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of interesting. You got the buyback on the Oasis Surger, though. I mean,
yeah,
just having another one in hand, like, who cares what it costs?
Right.
It's his perspective. And that's why this Dire Frenzy is so massive.
Yeah, there's the reaction. I think that is plan B out the window for Thijs now. Because he has so much heat left in his deck now as well, right? The Elise is still in there, the Cenarius is still in there, that I think it was possible that he could just draw one card per turn and actually do really effective things with it.
I agree with you. And now he's just facing down Mountain Giants that have Rush.
Yep.
Oh, boy. Yeah, you gotta draw.
That's the give up. That's the give up on the fatigue plan. Expedition exactly Oasis Surger?
Lodi?
Loti, yeah, sure.
I mean, you can't just play Elise. Oh.
Need a hand, Explorer?
Yeah, dead.
Let's concede. Thijs immediately deep in thought, seeing if he could have found a way out of this game that he didn't consider up until this point. Kolento is going to deliver the damage. Kolento's going to square up the series. That was an absolute marathon of a game.
It was a nail-biter, too. Like, there were so many diverging paths on both sides.
Yep.
And both players, I think, are actively sniffing out pressure. Like, I guess for me on Thijs' side, I look at that turn with, as soon as he drew Nourish, I see where his game plan is. I think you could just beat him up, honestly. Like, if you Nourish that spot and you find one of your big cards to play, like, you are threatening taking a lot of damage in that spot. But I think you just got to get more done. Like, you need to find the Oasis. You need to defend yourself. Like,
yeah, I mean, there was a Rat Trap in play at the time, right? So he couldn't have had like a ridiculously explosive turn. There weren't any Anubisat defenders immediately remaining, so he wouldn't have been able to defend himself unless he picked up exactly that second hidden Oasis.
it was the first one? Oh, it was the second one. Yeah.
So I think it's a huge risk to potentially rip it in that situation, especially after that first hidden Oasis goes down, I believe, into that pressure play turn. But yeah, I mean, the Dire Frenzy just shut down anything that Thijs could come up with in terms of like unconventional plans of just fatiguing a Highlander Hunter, which I don't think too many people will have been successfully able to do in the past.
I don't think anybody would have ever accounted for that outcome. I guess the point I'm getting at is like Thijs is just faced with a lot of tough spots and has to make bold calls.
Yeah.
And I think it's from my perspective, I can't say one is right or wrong. And I think that's the interesting part about it is it's like usually when you're faced with these kind of divergent paths, you have very clear images on seeing both hands, like which one is right and which one is wrong. You just didn't have one there. I think the big one for Kolento as well, just recognizing that the Zul'jin provided enough pressure to where you didn't have to be defensive anymore. You just had a snowball opportunity to keep clocking damage because Thijs was so weak in that mid stage.
Yeah, it did look for just like one or two turns like that might come back and bite him, right? Like when he made his big board and then immediately the Nourish was drawn and it was the Nourish that activated the Zephyrus in hand and Thijs had the Zephyrus Twisting Netherclear. That was the first point where you thought, oh, actually, Kolento might have overestimated how far ahead he is in the spot. And that usage of the Zul'jin before the Zephyrus could have come back to bite him. But I think it was a decent call to just say, yeah, I mean, Screw it. Why do I want my Zul'jin to Twisting Nether when it just makes a ridiculously huge board that my opponent can't really interact with?
Thijs faced with an early decision. I feel like in this matchup I have needed to quest as quickly as possible. You need Oasis Surger on turn 5.
Agreed. Surger or Starfall. Thijs begs to differ.
Well, there's merits to this line as well. Like, I've played through this one. Against Light Warden specifically, it tends to be pretty good.
Yep.
Against Northshire Cleric, I feel like it's about the same as whether or not I played this on turn 1.
I think against Cleric specifically, it's much worse to have done this, right? You slow down your quest and you give them a target to bump and heal if they want to. Bump and circle, worst case scenario.
Is someone injured?
It's not like you've got a pounce in your deck.
In the light's name.
I mean, are we just committed at this point?
I'm not going to not Wrath of Northshire. Like, that's not going to happen. I think for Thijs, it is about looking pretty deep here about what way you do this, though. Because I think there is merit to hero powering and killing the Light Warden first. Because you don't want your Crystal Smith... I'm sorry, you don't want your Crystal Merchant to be threatened. And as it stands right now, it's not threatened.
Yeah, currently isn't really, is it?
However,
it needs to be like buffs to take care of it.
However, if Kolento goes with attack and then hero power you, or bump your thing and then hero power and heal my thing,
yep.
Now the Crystal Merchant is threatened and you don't have the ability to kill the Light Warden anymore. Right. And so that to me is really the thinking point is, yes, you give up a card draw, but that foregoes development on Kolento's side. But you may not get an opportunity to kill that Northshire Cleric again if a beaming sidekick or a power word shield comes down. And it's like the situation we described yesterday where it's like you have 2 roads to pick, you pick one of them and you hope it works.
Yeah. And I think the road that ends in a dead Northshire Cleric takes you to the best places.
Northshire Cleric is the one card in the matchup that forces you off quest progress.
It's weird because I'm very much in agreement with like turn 2 Wrath and Northshire Cleric. I'm just still not sure I'm on board with Coin Crystal Merchant, or Innovate Crystal Merchant as it was.
Yeah, like in this instance we would have seen quest go. He would have drawn Wrath, Innovate Wrath, turn 3 Crystal Merchant.
Yeah, I mean that's super results oriented because yeah, he top decked a Wrath the next turn, which he obviously changed everything. But
the Nightmare.
Dark future.
Perhaps Breathing Room.
Job done.
The end begins.
is someone injured?
In the light's name.
No.
I think that might be better. It's just damage.
I think I rate 2 cards over 4 damage.
That's not just 4. It's 4 right now.
Yeah, but like the right now is kind of the relevant part. All right, stop bickering for a second. He stole the Armet. That was important. It's about the only way he was getting out of this. Now that does potentially make having more damage on board immediately with Light Warden much more relevant. I'll say that like the immediate damage is kind of the one you have to think about because otherwise you just get immediately lost. Because I could just start arguing that the 2 extra cards he has represents more damage on the next turn.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
I still don't even know if that's going to be good enough. I mean, I just...
It's
I
the
have to wait and
start
see.
of something
Yeah,
that might
seriously.
be good enough.
Like, this opening from Kolento was just insane.
Yep.
And then the steal on the Mind Control tech was insane. And so now... I don't know, man.
Kolento, 2 copies of Silence. Important note with these 2 Hidden Oasis chilling in hand for Thijs currently.
1 Hearthstone Grandmasters. 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 1 Hearthstone Grand
There is a Light Warden problem that needs to be solved before those hidden Oasis can really have huge impacts. Right now, they're just dying on board to these 2 Light Wardens.
I wonder.
You know, one way to solve this Light Warden
In the
problem.
light's name.
What's that?
Forbiddeness Flute. We're just back at 4 minions.
Oh my gosh. Is mind control tech going to be the savior?
Really haven't seen it being too effective in Druid up until this point. First game, I think I've really seen it had a huge impact for the players who are bringing it in their Druid list.
If you miss, do you just die? No, you have Wrath.
If you hit an Oasis, do you just die?
Yeah. Oh.
I mean, literally, right?
Do you
like,
Wrath first?
Go to 30?
All right, here we go. 25%.
Starfall off the draw? No.
Mental dislocation.
What are you... Okay, the delay. The delay upset me.
You are threatening the Norse, the first Light Warden here, though. Does this pull Kolento off Bonsamdi?
Yeah, I mean, if Thijs gets to go trade... Actually, you'd hit an Oasis first to buff that Light Warden, and then trade into it to spawn the new one. Or you could just take the big boy value trades and just believe in no silence from the opponent. It's a line.
Value heal, go.
It's a line, I'm just saying.
Kolento's like, oh, dang it. That's almost so good.
Almost is right, yeah.
Wait. I think that is good.
Is it?
You mentioned the big boy value trades and just believe the silence isn't there. Like, is the hidden Oasis really giving you a better shot? Because you're going to be in the same situation next turn. Like, I think you got to make... I think you got to try to make something happen.
You want to Cenarius and take the value trades. Leave the 7-7 and the 11-6? All right, hello.
Or Cenarius
right.
and just kill the 11-6.
I'm interested. There's one card in your opponent's hand that isn't a 1-drop, but there's also one card that you know is a Nausea Cleric, but you also know there's no Circle of Healing remaining.
Oh,
so
yeah, you got to do this.
The opportunity for, like,
Wait a
massive
minute.
card draw turns.
Can you go face instead and threaten lethal? Is that ever possible?
No. You die to, like, everything, then.
Ah, you're still dead to a silence here.
Like, actually everything. Yeah, but you're dying to, like, Wild Pyromancer.
Yeah, that's a good reason why.
All right, this got interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Kolento has draws for lethal this turn.
I must consider.
2 copies of Silence in the deck.
Extra Arms is not it.
Still has a draw for lethal if he wants.
Blade Master or Tolvir.
Or bump Norshire and heal.
I guess that's true. This attack doesn't actually matter. Doesn't change anything.
Is someone injured?
A wild game of Hearthstone has broken out, Admirable.
Oh my gosh. And that Norshire's not drawing another card.
Quickly.
That is a beautiful sight from Thijs when you see that. But now I'm looking at this topsy-turvy on the Light Warden.
Yep. I like it.
Hey!
Just loads it up.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Still both copies of Inner Fire remaining in the deck. Both copies of Divine Spirit still remaining in the deck.
So now for Thijs. Druid of the Side. These are all good.
Ancient of War, yeah.
All of these make sense. I think Thijs is casting Hidden Oasis this turn. Like, I feel like we've hit the dire point where, like, you can pull yourself out of the range of the Northshire. And this is, like, that classic point you're trying to create a lot of times in priest matchups. Isolate the big minion, put taunts in the way.
Yes, correct. It's so irritating buffing the Light Warden, though. You'd go to 18. You'd want to kill the Cleric for sure if you're playing Hidden Oasis. If you Nourish and look for the War Druid Loti, do you still have that available? Thijs does, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Is there other draws he can find that are useful here?
You're going to have 4 mana left afterwards.
Time waits for no one.
That doesn't sound right. I think it has to be a Hidden Oasis turn.
Which means double trade the Bonsomdi.
Kill the 7/7, kill the Cleric, because that just absolutely has to die.
Because next turn, you have Nourish into Hidden Oasis if you want it.
Yes.
So just start working on the Railroad. Like, you're not under threat of lethal except from Inner Fire plus a Silence, which you just saw Kolento didn't have.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a head-scratcher. I don't know what to do.
Pretty sure it involves killing the 6/6, full healing the Light Warden with a Blade Master. Maybe a Tolvir. The 2/6 taunt more relevant than the bigger minion.
Is it?
With 2 5 attack minions on board, it might well be.
Well, there's going to be 1 5 attack minion.
All right, good point. I think with 1 5 attack minion on board, it might well be.
I mean, Gallon may push the 1.
Oh, that would be the most dominant 1 push I have ever seen.
I've got more left in me.
You just get the trade back the next turn. You're like, yeah, that's right. That's what I thought.
Ooh, this is a tense game.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I like this. I think,
Thijs is still behind after all of this. Like, this is madness.
I think this taunt is just more important. Reminder, Thijs stole the Armet this game. Kolento hasn't played a single Divine Spirit this game. He still just has ridiculously overstatted minions in play every single turn.
Defender. I feel like I have very rarely seen Kolento take a deep breath to relax himself in the middle of a game.
Just buffing his Light Warden.
Just tank up.
So comical to me for some reason. This sets you up for good swipes on the following turns. It sets you up for good Oasis surges on the following turns. That Inner Fire does something, but not
4, 6. It can connect the Light
It
Warden.
gets the Light Warden to go face, yes. But then so does just the... No, that's a more arms. It's
No.
not an extra arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I thought he still had both halves for a second.
Ooh, that's an ugly-looking Inner Fire, though.
It's a beautiful-looking Light Warden, though.
So, heal, Injured Blade Master, Inner Fire, Injured Blade Master, more arms, something. Injured Blade Master trades over 6/6. Little things with more arms trade over 3/5. You connect 16 damage to face with your 16/17 Light Warden.
You also lose your Taunt minion, though, which means then your 17 health Light Warden is more under threat from War Druid Loti and Oasis Surger type stuff.
You're losing the taunt either way, right?
I think so, yeah. I don't see a way around it.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
I feel like this is just the same thing but worse than what we described. Doesn't he just not have a minion and a slightly smaller Blade Master this way? You get to heal the Blade Master afterwards, which you didn't have to get to do the other way. Okay, no, it's not just strictly worse. It's different. Sure.
A taunt in the way.
Which one?
Pick one. Put something in the way. My God, I'm terrified. Is it worth it to do something else? Like, can you Ferocious Howl to try to get extra health that puts you at 18 and you're dead to the Light Warden shot?
Yep. Light Warden already at 16. Goes to 18 for free next turn.
So, Mark of Nature then? Use the Psycho Pump, trade over the injured Blade Master?
I guess.
Ferocious Howl first?
Ferocious Howl, draw the freaking War Druid, Loti. It's what we want.
I don't know what I want. The game's...
I want a War Druid, Loti.
I just want the game to not end next turn.
Okay.
I want it to keep going, and I want it to be spectacular. I want this game to never end.
$19, by the way, not dead to the Light Warden.
Oh, I missed that you...
Get the extra
Yeah.
card. Yep.
Nine cards left in the deck for Thijs. What is he missing? Is Zephyrus active right now? Oasis Surger. That's what's missing.
Yeah, I'll
So
take,
if
take
he were
drawing
to,
one of those.
is he on Nourish next turn? This goes to 8. It goes up to 10. Starfall Swipe could clear that off.
Oh my goodness.
And that would kill the injured Blade Master too. Did Thijs just recover?
Yes, he did.
Because both clerics are gone.
I'll pick your poison. Whichever way you want to clear this board. My suggestion would be less spells since you have a King Phaeorus in your hand. Yeah, Oasis Surge's Swipe just clears the Reborn version as well and preserves a Starfall in your hand for the King Phaeorus.
Oh my gosh.
I think Thijs has done it. I think somehow, miraculously, he has found a way out of the most unlikely of Priest games.
Stole this.
And the silence off the top!
Stole the Amet. Mind Control Tech is the savior of this game. It stole the Amet. The Amet died instantaneously, but if it wasn't for that...
Oh, the 512!
No, don't rub it in, deck!
Second silence! I'm sorry. I'm sure if you're a Kolento fan or in Kolento's position right now, this is not funny. But it is quite funny, though.
It was a good game of Hearthstone,
It
deck.
was a fantastic game.
Don't
of
BM him, deck.
I know.
What a game. That was the razor's edge.
Yep.
And the Mind Control Tech, the savior. If you want to know why it's in the deck, it's because it steals away unwinnable games.
Just rewind 3 turns and look at the game state compared to what it is now. Thijs just has 20 health, an unbeatable board, and 10 cards in his hand. He was dead 3 turns ago.
He was dead like turn 3, I thought.
Yeah. Absurd. Absolutely absurd. Thijs...
Beautiful game.
Thijs squares up the record now against Kolento. He's picked up both wins in Season 2. Kolento picked up both wins in Season 1. Thijs has talked about how he always looks forward to playing against Kolento, not just for obviously the memes that come out, but just because genuinely they do have such a storied history of playing against each other through basically every era of competitive Hearthstone.
And if you're going to get games like this, I'm looking forward to you playing him too.
Thijs has a legendary game in him here and there. There's a few that have gone down in Hearthstone history as just crazy little scrappy brawls. The one against Osaka in the World Championship, of course, goes down in memory, but that game was crazy. I want to know how he won it, so let's freaking ask him.
Yeah, Thijs, can you hear us?
Yes, perfectly. Do you hear me?
I certainly do. My goodness, what a series. I'm certain you have thoughts on it, and so I'm not even going to ask you a question. Just give me your thoughts. That was a wild series.
Yeah, very intense series. Well, maybe the first game not too much. That went like compared to the other 2 games very fast. But yeah, the second game, I was very happy with the matchup, but I drew so bad with the Druid, and I was like so sad. But then I'm very happy that against Priest, but it's not a good matchup. It's a bad matchup. But I think you have better outs than some people think in a matchup. If you can like, yeah, you will not beat the Priest nuts, but you still have like a pretty good shot, I think. But happy that it worked out.
Well, you say you don't beat the Priest nuts, but it looked to me like you pretty much beat the Priest nuts there. So just walk me through, like, what to you, obviously the Ahmet steal is very critical, but like what other points in that game are you feeling uneasy about, unsure about? You know, is there anything you look back and still don't know if what you did was the best you could have done? Because, I mean, you squeaked by that one on the thinnest of margins right up until you killed that big Light Warden.
Yeah, I think it's just very important that you like, the quest doesn't even matter. It really doesn't matter. Like, if you complete it at turn 8, you complete it at turn 8. It's just so important that you remove all the creatures that the priest plays early game. And yeah, if you have like a very early Oasis Surger, and maybe that's still a way to go for the quest. But with the given hand that I had, like, I was like, I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna coin out the Merchant to cover like Light Warden openers and all these kind of stuff, because they can be, as you saw, also very painful. But yeah, the Emmet steal was also like very key. Otherwise, I think I will have a very tough game.
So you are now 2-2 in the Kolento mirror. Do you feel better that you now have an even record against other Kolento?
I mean, I have won the other 2 as well, right? So.
Okay.
So now your record sits at 5-5. You're in the middle of the pack, and you're in place for standings. With 4 matches left, I'm curious about your next opponents. If you have any thoughts of someone you do or do not want to play against out of those 4.
I'm really looking forward to face Orange again. I definitely am up for some revenge, and I got something prepared for him as well. So that will be very cool. And and for the rest, I'm just happy. The first 2-0 week, so very happy with it.
Nice. I want to ask you a quick question as well. In the Druid matchup, after you ripped the Nourish to activate the Zephyrus, I think it was, and you got the Twisting Nether clear, were you ever thinking about trying to fatigue him at that point?
No, not really. Okay. I knew that I will still have to really draw my deck, and if I get an Elise in my hand, I probably, like, it's just too weak with 2 or 3 cards. It was a little bit in my back mind, but then the Die Frenzy came around as well.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, also off the menu.
All right, well, Thijs, it's been a pretty cool season for you so far. I'm glad to see you climbing back from what happened in Season 1, because I think you'd be a great representative at the Global Finals here. So congratulations on your win here. I'm looking forward to seeing you play again next week, and just can't wait to see what you have in store for Orange.
Thank you so much.
Something special in store for Orange. I wonder what that is. I didn't want to ask him that, because obviously he's not going to answer.
It's going to give him the business.
I just ask him. He's like, oh, yeah, very specifically what I have instead. I'm like, oh, okay.
What, you don't want to open your Christmas presents early?
No comment.
Really? Okay. Fair enough. Moving on,
you
then,
can,
I
you can
guess.
ask Megan about that. I just have a very weird stance on Christmas presents for some reason.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I will ask
It's
her.
like, it's a long, I'll tell you the story later, too.
It clearly isn't relevant for right